Good to see you again. Thank you for joining in and watching and listening to this video. It's the third in a series that we're doing about the parables Jesus told and thinking about the kingdom's surprises that are hidden in these parables. The first one you'll probably remember was about the mustard seed, the tiniest of seeds, yet it becomes a big tree in which the birds of the air, even the Gentiles, can find their rest, their peace and their safety. And Jesus was saying the kingdom of God is not going to be a big splash. It's begun in a quiet way because the kingdom of God was present in Jesus. And then last week we had the excitement of the man stumbling over the treasure in his field and selling everything he had in order to be able to legitimately own that treasure and change his life. And the pearl merchant who'd spent all his life travelling around looking for pearls to make money out of them. When he finds this amazing pearl, this exceptional pearl, this unique pearl, he sells all the rest just to own that. And Jesus was emphasising there how important the kingdom of God is, even though it might be hidden, even though it might not be easy to find. It's there, and if you find it, it's worth paying every penny to belong to the kingdom of God. And the third set of parables, yes, because there are two once more, are bringing out that point even more strongly, that it actually costs a lot to belong to Jesus' kingdom, to become part of the kingdom of God. It's of infinite value, but he challenges us today. Are we willing to pay the price? Can we afford it? It's not the question we necessarily think too much about these days, at least not the younger generations as far as I can see. All the advertisements that are around us, all the propaganda is about, if you want it, have it. You're worth it. Don't bother about the cost. Go and get it and sort the cost out later. That's not how I was brought up, probably not how you were brought up. Are they right? Are we right? Well, according to Jesus, there are some things where we need to be very, very careful to count the cost. Earlier in this week, the president of Belarus went to one of his prestigious tractor factories. He arrived in splendour by helicopter, and there was a crowd of people gathered, and he thought they were going to affirm him, acclaim him, provide him with a publicity stunt that he very much needed, as we've seen the media showing us time and time again, vast crowds of people protesting against him. So he arrived in splendour, had this podium ready, stood in front of this moderate crowd, looking very imposing and regal. And the crowd started to shout, "Leave, leave, leave." And in the end, he walked off the podium. He was shamed in front of this crowd and because of the media across the world. And I think at the heart of these two stories that Jesus tells, the story about the man who starts to build a tower, the king who plans to go to war, at the heart of it is this business of public shame. Because in the East, as we know from various other episodes we've learnt about over the last years, shaming your family, shaming your name is a very, very serious thing to do. It's almost a matter of life and death if you shame your family. And the man who started to build this tower ended up ashamed. He'd only got as far as laying the foundations and then discovered he didn't have enough money to pay for the stones that he needed to build his tower. And so there was the evidence for everybody to see that this man was not as great as he thought he was, that his ambitions were greater than his resources. And it would be a shame, wouldn't it, for a king to go to war with 10,000 men and meet an even larger army and be defeated in battle, and his troops return to his own city bedraggled and beaten with stories of how they'd been heavily defeated and how their comrades had been killed. The king would lose his prestige among his citizens. They might then rebel against him, knowing he was weakened. He was a shamed man. And the point that Jesus is making in these two parables, as is clear from the introduction that Luke gives us, large crowds were travelling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, it's clear from that introduction that Jesus wants his disciples to count the cost, to decide that the treasure and the pearl truly are worth having no matter what it costs. And the challenge comes down the centuries to us today. Are we prepared to give up everything for Jesus? Because if we're not, if we start off and then turn back, we brought shame to ourselves and to Jesus. Of course, Jesus is still willing to welcome us back. And we'll be thinking about that next week. But Jesus does ask us to seriously count the cost of our discipleship. And as we plan to return to Sunday worship and to begin the life together of our church, there will be a cost involved. It will cost each of us more time, more effort, more organisation, putting Jesus first to serve the church. Are we willing for that? Are we willing to reorganise our family life because it's become different? Are we prepared to reorganise our lives so that Jesus and serving his people continues to be our priority? Having Jesus, being part of his family, is an inestimable gift, a treasure worth finding, a pearl worth sacrificing everything for. But Jesus says, be prepared. He was on his way to Jerusalem to die. And he wanted those who followed him to know it wasn't always going to be easy, but it was going to be worthwhile. So think, are you building a tower and you're not prepared to pay the cost? Would you like to have a battle and win it? Get the glory? Well, be prepared. Are you sure you can see it through? Jesus says to us, as my disciples, put me first. Count the cost and then come and follow me. God bless you. Bye.